So the next stage in the next step is in order to create apron textures, say you want to put a number on the runway or on the taxiway or anything like that, you need to create a texture folder. It's a material folder, and then inside the material folder it's a texture folder. So if I look at the Gatwick setup, I've already done this. In package sources, there's a folder called materials and a folder called textures. So this is where you save your created textures. So there's a texture that I created. It has to be flipped horizontally, because that's the way the texture is placed onto the surfaces. So doing this by memory, I think I watched a YouTube creator, Benny Boy. He's done a really good tutorial on apron textures, so I may have to refer back to his video if I get this wrong. So in case I've got this wrong, I've done a backup copy, because this can also mess your package up if you do it completely wrong. So all I'm going to do in my package sources, same location, I'm going to create a materials folder. In the materials folder is a textures folder. It has to be named exactly this, with a capital T. Okay, so if I look into the SDK samples, I created this scenery with a simple scenery. There's no texture folder created. But if I'd have created this scenery, which most people do, a simple airport, I look in package sources, it's already got one created. I don't think you have to put the folders in if you create the scenery as a simple airport, because it's already there. So because I used a simple scenery, I have got to create one. So I've created the folder. Now what I'm going to do is build the package first. I'm going to load the scene. Load this asset group. Runways have loaded in. Now I do believe I've got to highlight the package project name, and then I have to add a material library, I do believe. So if I edit the material library, I can call it a name. So I'm just going to call it Heathrow Paint. So material library, that's correct. the asset directory, you have to browse to package sources. Now I'm not sure if you select this, so I'm going to go back to a video on YouTube and come back, because I can't remember if you have to highlight this or just select. You have to go into the folder and select folder. I think I'll try and do it by memory. Okay, so the output directory, this I cannot remember, so I'm definitely going to have to go back and have a look at a video quickly. So I've just checked and I have got this correct, so I just need to type in material libs with a capital M and a capital L. Then a /, and then Heathrow paint. Need to do that again. So you need to push enter for it to actually go in. So if I load in editor, it's loaded everything in. I haven't got any materials in there yet, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to copy a texture from the Gatwick library that I created already. So this is one I use quite a lot. It's just a 2048 by 2048 black image. So I'm going to copy that in. I'm not going to copy any of this flags. I'm not sure. Package sources, materials, textures. I'm going to paste it in. That's one Apron Texture. So now I need to just create a new texture. I'm going to call it black. I'm going to use a paint surface, and now I make sure I'm in the right package. Just browse to that texture, load it, save it. Now I'm just going to create objects, apron, just put a square down. So this is using a default texture at the moment. I just go to London Heathrow in the material editor. I've only got one texture, so I just highlight that, then I swap it over by clicking this, and there's the apron texture. So what happens now, if you save the scenery, you might get an error. If I go to build it, you may not. They may have fixed this problem. I'm going to call it 0001. That seems to have worked. It's just a this always happens when you change the version number. So that's good. It's easier than it was before. You used to get a little error come up and you used to have to close the project, then reopen it. So now I'm gonna close the project and open it again. Build. That's all good. It's got the Heathrow paint in the material library. I'm gonna load my scene, and there's the texture. Load the asset group, just 100% loads it. See, the runway is a little bit over. So now I can start putting a bit of texture down. So normally what most people would do is give the runway a texture. I've made it transparent, so I'm just gonna. There's the texture and markings. Looks like it's already put down some rubber. There's a setting in here somewhere for tyre marks. Cannot see it, but you notice if I put all the markings down, the actual positions are not lining up. I could move this further up, but what I prefer to do is just create my own custom textures. So I'll remove all of that. Make it transparent. So if I go to Google Earth, so this is Google Earth 3D. It's got telemetry, but this is Gatwick, and I don't know if you notice how good the quality is. Fantastic quality, really detailed. But if I go to Heathrow, You notice there's telemetry, but the quality is not as good. It's not very good at all, but it's better than nothing. So you can see it's just a bit blurry. You can't make too much out. You can't get any detail really. You can't even see stand numbers here, but you can see just about on the taxiway. So it's not going to be as easy at all. The head of the stands looks like there's a guidance here, exactly where the signs are. It's anybody's guess. What I'll have to do is look at some photos I'll have to look at some YouTube videos where they filmed the taxiing stage and see what the setup is at the head of the stands, because I cannot get much out of this. It looks like there's a guidance here, or it could be here. Very sketchy, but it's still possible to get something out of this. Looks like the stand number plate is here and the guidance is here. Yeah, so here's the emergency stop sign. So it's looking similar to Gatwick's. So I could probably use what I've made at Gatwick and stick them here. So just have to be a bit of a detective with the information that I'm getting. 5 mile an hour, 20 mile an hour. So what I need to do, 27 right. What kind of apron texture is this? This is a concrete layer. This looks like it's just a dark bitumen, but the coloration is hard to tell. It's really probably not purplish. It looks like bitumen layer over a concrete layer, and you've got a little bit of you can just about see. It looks like a thin layer of bitumen over concrete. So I think the best thing to do is use the default at the moment. So I'm going to add a apron texture to this. This is a definite concrete texture. It looks like this is concrete, maybe I was right. The whole section is made out of concrete at Heathrow. Interesting. So if I create a apron texture, this is where I need a bigger monitor. 1080p is not easy. I think a 4K monitor would be way better for creating scenery. So I'm going to create an apron texture. Going to use default and going to try and outline possibly the whole of the runway section, including the outer edge. Just start off with that. So I need to drop the mic. So that's a base layer down. So by the look of it, the default setting of 25 for the tiling, which you adjust the size of these tiles, looks... There's a square. Looks pretty close. Hard to tell. And the orientation is roughly correct as well, so I don't really need to do anything with that. Now, is this material the right one? I can't. If I search at the wall, I search taxi concrete, don't forget to untick the apron. I think this is looking a little bit too light, so Okay, I'm going to leave it as that at the moment. I think there's another one that's a bit darker, but it doesn't help with the daylight is maximum brightness. You get a few clouds down and it makes a difference. I'll just leave it as that at the moment. So if I go back to the runway, just put edge markings down. See, the problem with that is that the edge markings stop here. There is another way you can make some extra pavement at the end of the runway, but it never looks the same. So I'm not going to enable edge markings. Secondary and extra pavement. Past the edge markings. No. Leave it transparent, and I'm just going to do my own. So the apron texture, that's enabled, that's disabled. I need to see what I'm doing. So just going to create some painted lines. Wide white. So that's not really wide enough, but I could create I really need to create a apron texture, a white apron texture. So for that, so I delete that, and I need to copy a texture from the Gatwick scenery. White. Copy. Paste it into the textures. Okay. Now I need apron texture, make it a square one. Here, need to move the priority up so I can see it. can't see it yet. So now I need see the material editor. I need to create a new material. Call it white. Paint. Save. Now just override that texture. That's now white. So something's changed in the new SDK. For some reason, you used to be able to highlight these. You can't do anything with these now. So you have to use these corners. So it's really fiddly. And you can't adjust this part. It goes all funny. So it's harder. So I'm going to scale it. I'll have to rotate it. It's really, really annoying. This is a problem that has now happened. Apron textures are quite difficult to manipulate. See, I can't get it at exactly the angle that I want. So I have to enter it here, say -90. No, that's the wrong one. This side. So how difficult is that? Now it's really hard to get the correct thickness. And now to make it wider I've got to scale it. How crazy is that? So that's roughly it's really, really difficult to just like that. So that's that done. Now I need possibly can use a painted line. Try wide white. And go all the way down the runway. So this one, I can duplicate that and drag it over to the other end. You can see the runway is not quite angled correctly. When I go to the other end of the runway, it'll probably be all out now. Oh, that's not too bad. So that's the other end. So the only thing I'm going to enable is the lights. If I shift it over, and get some lights on it. There's some lights. Edge lights. This would be interesting to see what the approach lights situation is. It's like a T-bar. There's the ILS. It looks like it's a variation. Got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. It's nothing that I've seen before. So the system, if I put culvert 2, it's possibly 1, 2 people. Yeah, I think it's this type, but I need to do some more adjustments. I think Gatwick is culvert 1. No, culvert 2. But the spacing is different. So the spacing I can adjust later to get it lined up. Secondary lights is the other end. Just do the same. So these yellow lines I can do with painted lines. So I've got that dead centre by adjusting the latitude by a very, very tiny amount. So I notice the start position is not quite right. That's strange. Okay. So the next thing I need to do is this I will need to do by GIMP. I need to take a screenshot. I need to take a screen capture and put this into a photo editing program so I can get the correct shape, but I'll do that not just yet. So with this rectangle I might be able to create these. I don't think it's worth trying painted lines. Try and get it with using this rectangle. So there we go, it's starting to take a bit of shape. The runway, if I enable center dash line, you see the problem? There's no center line dashed here. It looks like it's too thin as well. So it's looking like I need to do a custom dash line. So I could do a painted line. So I've decided to use a Apron Texture. Well, if that is 090 degrees, then this should be easy. If I duplicate it, hopefully it should stay as I'm moving forward. Hopefully it will remain straight. It doesn't look like it will. So I may have to move it, adjust it. So are these getting smaller? No. So now I can get everything customized. And the great thing about Apron Textures is that you can put tire marks over them easily. Looks like I'm drifting slightly over to the right, so the angle's probably not right. So I'll have a quick look down the runway. It's beginning to look okay. So we have a bit of a runway going on here. So there's a bit of a runway going on. I'm going to have to finish the rest of it tomorrow because I'm running out of time. Let's delete this texture. And I'm going to quickly upload this to flightsim.to. That's all I could manage today, and I'll upload this video tomorrow, but at least that's something to land on.